Captain America, the First Avenger, was the fifth installment in the MCU and the last film before the Avengers. It was directed by Johnston and it starred Chris Evans, Hayley Atwell, Tommy Lee Jones, Toby Jones, Hugo Weaving, Sebastian Stan, among others. Welcome back to Geek Classic. We are right back on track on the MCU reviews on the road to Infinity War, and just like always, these reviews will have spoilers. We are talking about the First Avenger. You are warned. Let's go. In many ways, this film was Marvel's biggest risk behind the first Iron Man, which was their first movie, because it's pretty easy to understand how to make Thor work. But Captain America? From the silly costume with the bright blue and the wings on the side of the helmet? Plus, there's also been some awful movies in the 70s and 80s, and if I'm not mistaken, the 90s as well? But somehow, after Iron Man, Incredible Hulk, Iron Man 2 kinda, Thor, Marvel did it once again. Steve Rogers is a wimpy little man provided by some amazing CGI work, but when he's accepted into the military after countless failed attempts, his goodwill, morals and bravery convince the right people that he is the right man for an experiment with his newly created serum in an attempt to fight Hitler and the Nazi regime. Curiously enough, rewatching Captain America the First Avenger gave me the sense that Marvel did with this film what they felt like when trying to come up with how to make Captain America work in a serious film. They took the pulp, silliness and camp of his mythos and showed how it happens practically. Once Steve Rogers takes the super serum and Dr. Erskine is assassinated, they don't know what to do with the Captain America, this symbol that he represents at this point in time during the war, but he's already a hero to many simply for what he represents, so the military decides to use him for propaganda purposes. They have big shows with music and dance numbers, all to promote the good of the war. Posters with Captain America featured on them to appeal to the masses to enlist on the army, but then the film takes a step even beyond that and shows what this risk must have felt like for the character itself. And it shows throughout the film, because by the end of the First Avenger, I can define this movie in simple words, and that is a character piece adventure. Yes, the film comes with all the pulp of movies of old and the cheesiness that is entrenched in the character like Captain America. His purpose, setting and time period lend to all that. But the film not only embraces it, it displays how that can work and why that is sometimes necessary. This was the first time I saw Chris Evans as a star. I had liked him in previous roles. Hell, I even enjoy him in the Fantastic Four as a Human Torch. But he's a side character on that. He's not the main guy. He's not the star. If anything, he's in an ensemble. But in here, the guy proves not only his chops as an actor, but he becomes Captain America. He embodies this character so perfectly, and everything he stands for. He already looks like a superhero. I mean, look at the guy. He's buffed. But much like the film itself, and in playing this role, he proves that what makes Captain America a hero is his moral core. He jumps on a grenade knowing he's going to die. He fights a dude solely cause he's being an ass in a movie theater. He agrees to be in this dangerous experiment despite the danger cause the goal is to stop Hitler. When Erskine's assassin is running away and he throws this random kid into the water, Captain America immediately goes to jump into saving the kid, and the kid just says, "Go get him! I can swim!" And granted, these are probably cliches that are familiar with this type of film, but they are so well utilized, much like in any other Marvel film. And no, they are not the only cliches around. There are many. There's the disfigured villain that became that way because he twisted what created a hero, the symbols of a triumphant America, the mad scientists, and yet they all work. The movie either tinkers with them to create something new or simply utilizes the best aspects of these cliches. And the movie as a whole can be described as lighthearted, but damn me if Captain America the First Avenger doesn't have some of the deepest, most emotionally wrenching moments in the whole of the MCU. The awesome train sequence with Cap and Bucky teaming up properly in the war for the first time, with Bucky dying at the end of it. My god, you feel it! There's this friendship that's built throughout the film coming to that ending is absolutely devastating. And adding to that, there's the scene with Steve Rogers alone at the bar where he celebrated with all his friends after a successful rescue mission that he's drinking, but he can't get drunk. He can't drown his sorrows away. That is something out of this world devastating, and they nailed it perfectly in these two scenes. Another emotionally powerful, compelling, and moving scene is the scene with Erskine and Steve Rogers the night before he goes on the experiment and takes the serum. This is by far my favorite scene in the entire film, and it completely displays why Captain America is a great character, why this film turned out so well, because they understood what made Captain America Captain America. And it's all done in a brilliant performance by Stanley Tucci.
That you will stay who you are.
Not a perfect soldier, but a good man.
And even the relationship with Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter, who is fantastically played by the amazing Hayley Atwell, who is this female presence in this world of men, and she proves how badass and important she is, so much so she got her own solo series. That's how great this character is, and that's how great this relationship is. This is the best relationship in comic book movies. Throughout the film they are so shy and awkward around each other, yet it's extremely charming, and all these elements add to the emotional way when it comes to the end of the film, and Steve turns the ship down and crashes into the ice to sacrifice himself as he's talking to Peggy over the communicator about a dance they know they will never have.
You're gonna need a rain check on that dance.
All right. A week next Saturday at the Stork Club.
You got it. We'll have the band play something slow. I'd hate to step on your...
Steve?
This relationship is so much everything that every other relationship in any comic book movie should be. I wouldn't even mind watching a Steve Rogers and Peggy Carter movie. That's how good these two are. And the villain is also great. Here's another great Marvel villain that is underrated, especially because he doesn't show up since this film. I'll grant you that, but he's so good. Hugo Weaving does a remarkable job as Red Skull. The makeup looks incredible. He is so menacing throughout the film. And why does it work despite the character also being inherently campy? And why does he work despite the character also being inherently campy? Well, he's playing a Nazi, so what does he do? He plays a Nazi. Not a Nazi in a superhero movie, not a comic book version of a Nazi. He's playing a Nazi like you would see a Nazi in a rated R Oscar Beatty war film maybe. He kills his subjugates simply for failing at minimal jobs like Darth Vader in the original Star Wars. He's intimidating, he's a general master strategist with a plan who can also get his hands dirty as we see in the fight sequences. And all along throughout the film, this dude is trying to trump Hitler. Hydra in this film is a division of the Reich, and he's trying to overthrow Hitler with this advanced technology. That's how evil this dude is. He's trying to kill Hitler himself. Now let's talk about the ending, because rewatching this film for this review, the ending hit me in a manner that it never did before. And I've watched this film countless times. I watch it at least once a year in my MCU marathons. The ending to Captain America: The First Avenger is some of the best narrative metaphor I have ever seen. After 70 years frozen on ice, Cap wakes up and realizes something's wrong, only to run out of the building where he's at, and finds himself confronted by a drastically changed world.
You've been asleep, Cap, for almost 70 years. You gonna be okay?
Yeah, I had a date.
Once more, we have a representation of how tough this must be for the character Captain America himself, being in such a different world, but more than that. How tough of a job is to make Captain America work as a character nowadays. This ending shows me why the silly, campy, pulpy stories and characters are necessary, hence why comic books in comic book movies are necessary. Captain America has all the ideas and morals and values that any hero should have. He's the brightest star in the Marvel comics, he's the brightest star in the MCU as we see nowadays, but there's a reason for it. The military used Cap like they did in the film for a reason, because heroes are the ones that hold us up the highest when we are at our lowest. They're the ones that keep us believing in others and in ourselves when we have no reason to. And that's why these movies and characters and these stories are important. And they are not defined by the word, but rather they define the word hero. To me, the whole film works towards that goal, even though the first half is kind of slow-paced and seems like it takes a little while for the movie to get going. That's the construction of this character, his character piece, his arc. There's an entirely different Captain America coming, a Captain America like we had never seen before, and the film works towards that to show us why this silly old version of Captain America is so important and why it's important then after that to transfer him over to a new world, why it's important for us to keep evolving our characters with the changing of the times. Captain America the First Avenger is a film that shouldn't have worked. This was a character nobody could take seriously. But the movie is clever, it's a good journey filled with great character arcs and moments, a fun adventure with fantastic action. It's traditional but full of heart and charm, holding up what the morals and values of its centerpiece character are. And I do believe that this is the best character piece Marvel has in the entire MCU until this point. Captain America the First Avenger was way more deep than I was expecting. It's fun, it's pulpy, but it's everything it should be, and that is why I am going to give it a collector's item. What did you think of Captain America the First Avenger, my beautiful geekies? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Let me know in the comments below, because I remember at the time I watched this in the theaters in 2011, I did really like it, but I did not love it this much. And yes, it has its flaws, but this is a very great, deep movie. So let me know in the comments, and thank you so much once more for watching and joining me in this journey through the MCU. Until Infinity War, I will have a review for the next movie in the MCU, Black Panther, on February 9th. Thank you so much, Cinema Planet, for granting me this press screening. I cannot wait to give you guys both the spoilers free and the spoilers review. And so until then, with many reviews coming this week, you stay beautiful, you stay geeky, and if you haven't done so yet, click the subscribe button and the bell so you can be geeky united!